Yes, they're totally slides. Nothing special here. We're not doing the programmer art thing again. Anyway, greetings everyone. I'm Tom, lead developer of Renpy. We're about to close out the 21st year of Renpy development, and this year, coming up in 2025, I'm planning on two releases, 8.4 in the first half and 8.5 in the second half. Today, I'll be closing out the conference with a short talk about what's coming in 8.4. First off, just while I got everybody here, there is a change in the requirements. It's Ren'Py 8.4 is going to require Windows 10, which is 2015, is about to get unsupported by Microsoft to run, dropping support for Windows 7 and 8 and 8.1, because most of the software we depend on is starting to require Windows 10 support. So if you maintain spec sheets for your game, you're going to need to update those. Coming in 8.4 is we're upgrading the version of Python that we used to Python 3.12. This newest plus one version of Python. It takes a while for the ports of Python to various platforms that we used to stabilize. So he's going to be about a year behind regular Python. Moving to Python 3.12 is going to bump us up 3 versions from Python 3.9, which is where we used to be. Big advantage is that 3.12 is much faster. There's actually some really interesting improvements internally that should make it run faster. And so Ren'Py and the games written in it are going to run faster. It also has a nice type system internally now, which is going to be made available to you for developers, but certainly it's making us behind the scenes able to make Ren'Py development just a lot smoother. Addition to Python 3.12, we're upgrading a lot of the other libraries that make up Ren'Py. Next feature that we have is script compression. So Ren'Py keeps the entire game script in memory from when you start the game. This way you don't have to worry about like paging it in and out. You don't have to worry about breaking it up into sections, things like that. The problem is, as games are getting larger, I'm seeing games with 500,000 words in them. Keeping the entire script in memory can just take a lot of space. So there's now a new compression that tends to save. It's just 8 bytes here, 8 bytes there, but over the course of the entire game, it adds up. For example, in the current version of Ren'Py, you're having 8 bytes just to indicate to it that this say statement doesn't include arguments. Now that goes away entirely, and just the amount of space that's being stored is a lot less. A nice side effect of this is that the script load time is now 30 to 50% faster in games side. One thing to realize about this is just a very specific portion of the loading process. The script loading is just pulling the script in off the disk and putting it into memory. In small games, that's going to be fast because you don't have a lot of script to load. In large games, script loading tends to dominate the loading time. If you want to determine how much time your game is spending loading the script to just sort of estimate how much improvement there's going to be, you can look at the log.txt file Ren'Py produces. There should be a line there, loading script took however many seconds. And just going into that, you can just guess that's going to be like 30% faster than that. So as you're just reloading the game to work on it, that should just happen a bit faster. We're also going to be looking into work on improving and speeding up script parsing and also being a little more accurate so we can give you better error message reporting, both on Python and then eventually on the Ren'Py side. There's a new system called libs and mods, which are just directories in our game that are places to store libraries and mods. This is as much a convention as it is something built into Ren'Py. Right now, when you put libraries into Ren'Py, you just mix them in with your regular game, and if you need to then take one out or upgrade it, you have to kind of figure out which files are yours, which are in the library, and determine that yourself. Now you just put it in game libs. Everything is isolated. There are some changes to the load order of libraries to make sure that everything in the libraries directory will load before anything else in your game. So libraries can include custom statements and things like that and will still work properly. Mods are very similar, except they load after your game. So you can be sure that a mod, will be loaded after the game and, can then change anything rather than mods have to be given specific file names in order to make sure that they're loaded later. So really, this is going to be as much a community thing as you're making your shader packs, as you're making, your interface and things like that. I'm hoping people are going to start taking advantage of this lib system to make sure that they go. And finally, the big feature I've been kind of teasing all day, Ren'Py is going to have support for AI models. And by AI models, I mean the Open Asset Importer library, 3D models loaded using the Open Asset Importer library. These are 3D models. Open Asset Importer library is a library that has the ability to load models in a bunch of, in over 40 3D formats, including the fairly popular GLTF and FBX formats. Since I don't actually know Blender, I made these models in Fusion 360, which is a CAD program meant for 3D printing. So it's actually loading in STL files for my 3D printer as or one of the other formats it supports. The big thing about this is that it's going to load static 3D models without any animations. So this isn't actually animated. This is a transform that is moving us around through the background. That's an 8.4. Coming in 8.5, I'm probably going to add the ability to scale animation and things like that. I want to set some expectations. This is going to be fairly rough in 8.4. You will show the model, and by default, the base colors will be shown. There's also going to be the ability to load in roughness, metalness, and normal textures if you need them. That works already, and everything's going to be made available to shaders, but I don't quite have shaders that support this. And to a large extent, I don't quite know exactly what the right shaders are for a game that mixes 2D art and 3D art. And there may not be a single set of right shaders. So certainly it's going to be swappable, and certainly people are going to be able to develop their own server shaders that look good for what you are doing. So think of what's going to come in 8.4 as kind of a toolkit to let you experiment with 3D models, mixing your visual novels to determine what works. Ren'Py 8.5 is planned to have even more support, including scalable animation, as I mentioned before, and also tools to help you navigate around the 3D space to just to better visualize and navigate your way through it. To have a tool to help you define locations inside a model, tools to let you animate meshes and things like that. But that's probably going to be in the fall release, whereas the spring release is going to be is going to just be the basic static animation support. And of course, this mixes well with the 2D stuff, and with dialogue and things like that can all just get displayed right over the 3D animation. So you'll be able to mix everything together using the 3D stage as we saw before. So hopefully with some of the other talks, we're in the shaders and the 3D stage, you'll be able to mix this all together to start, integrating if you want 3D backgrounds. If not, 2D stuff is still going to work exactly the same as it does. You can expect this to start showing up in the nightly builds probably next week or so. It does work. There's a couple bugs because I mostly did this over the past week, getting it ready for the conference. There's some bugs that trigger if you do things like rollback or if you reload, and I got to solve all those. One thing I do want to do is that there's a lot more uniforms that I can give to the shaders to make lighting a lot easier to implement. Those aren't done yet, and to be honest, I still got to figure out what you're going to do with this. If you have ideas of what you want from this, please message me. Click again. So best bet is probably the Ren'Py GitHub. I'm probably just going to open an issue on there when this is over. Give me an hour or so to get that open, so you can write in the issue what you kind of want from this, so I can take that into account as I do this. I'm also available on Twitter and on Blue Sky if you want to get at me that way. If you've got things that can't be said in public, but ideally if we can keep the discussion in public, that means I don't have to deal with the same thing multiple times. And you can expect something relatively soon. This is not, this is being already written to a quality that will work with, this is already being written with a quality that is meant to work with the rest of Ren'Py, as compared to like a few years ago, I did a demo of this that just was not. What I have now is going into Ren'Py. This is going to come out in the next release, and we'll start taking advantage of it relatively soon. So with that, let me just thank everybody for showing up, and of course, thank Agi for just every year organizing a visual conference, because it's a lot of work, and really thank them for it.
All right, and that is it. We have made it. We are a mere half hour past the normal time. Considering all the things that have happened today, I am really happy that everyone stuck around. Someone's Stella's asking for 2D support for post-process, like for normals to create 2D assets that simulate 3D lighting stuff, and then asking for post-processing support for 2D.
Like when you say 2D stuff, like a normal map.
You can unmute and talk, Stella. Go for it.
Yeah, so I was just I don't know if I'm. Can you guys even fucking hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, if I could apply a secondary texture to something, I can already make like a normal map. That's not really that big of a deal. But like if you're making like built-in shaders, having support for like normal maps as like a general rule for the default shader might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, that's actually
already lighting in.
That's actually already in Renpy. Basically, you can put a displayable in as a uniform in Renpy, and I believe that should just show up, and you just use the uniform as a sampler.
Can you like show me how to do that? Because that would be great.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Just write it in the documentation so you don't have to do it twice.
Yeah, sure. Let me just note that down.
Because that's honestly, I could do 30 million different effects if I just had the ability to use a different, like a ramp or some kind of gradient map to path effects. So there's a ton you can do with secondary textures.
Yeah, I'll add that I should document. Yeah, just add that to my notes. But yes. And any other questions that people have?
Hi, Tom. The thing about Win 10 getting phased out made me think, was there ever a minimum Linux kernel for the Linux version? And where is that now?
To be honest, my general rule for Linux is that it's like 2 Ubuntu stable releases before the present. So it's like right now. So theoretically, the minimum, although I don't really document this anywhere, right now, the stable Ubuntu is 24.04. So whatever was in Ubuntu 22.04 is generally what I consider the minimum. I don't try I don't really try very hard to raise the Linux stuff just because there just isn't a lot of need. Like Linux kernels don't really bear into Renpy that much, so I don't do it. So when are we going to expect shaders on 3D models? Basically, the existing system, one of the arguments it takes is what shader you want to use. So basically, you can expect to try, you just supply your own. You have to supply a shader. We're probably going to put a default one in, but in general, you'll give it a shader and tell it what kind of lighting you want on your 3D models.
All right, then. I'm sure that you can continue any more questions in chat, but